So I'm going to kick things off. Welcome along to the question corner. Those are late, don't get to see my cool introductory slide. This, as always, we are gathered here with a bunch of some of the cooler people in Camunda. Number one, of course, being Nele Uhlemann, who is right here beside me.
Hi.
You may remember her from basically every other question corner. I'm also here. I'm Niall Deehan. Both myself and Nele are developer advocates with Camunda, if you don't already know us. And we're here because we can answer questions about basically most things about Camunda. Whether they're correct or not, we will leave up to interpretation. But we're pretty good at answering them and getting to the point where people are satisfied with the answers. But of course, we often have special guests. And in this particular case, our special guest, who has been doing a lot of stuff with front-end integration lately, is one of our consultants, Jonathan Lukas. Jonathan, do you want to say hi?
Hi, my name's Jonathan, and yes, I'm a consultant, and so answering questions is kind of my profession. So I'm happy to answer your questions as well.
Glad to have a professional on board for a change. Thanks very much, Jonathan. So as well, those who are long-time viewers of the Question Corner may know that one of the original creators, along with myself and Nele, is also here to join us, which is Luca. Luca, do you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm actually super happy to be back. It's been actually way too long since I joined last. And yeah, I'm Luca. I am the global community lead here at Camunda, and I'm running the Camunda Champion program.
Super duper. Thanks so much. So let's quickly remind everybody what's going to be happening. We have a little link here on Slido. You can either go to slido.com and put in this particular QC20 when you get to the website. You can scan that little QR code. What that'll give you is the ability to vote up questions, but also to ask questions of your own. You can also, I think there's probably going to be a link dropped in the chat at some stage. If it hasn't already been, you can click on that to go there instead. We do take a glance at the Zoom chat, but not really. So if you do have a question and you want it answered, you should really go to the Slido thing. And myself, Nele, and Jonathan will do our best to answer it. Now, we leave this chat open for like a week or two before the Question Corner starts. So we do already have a bunch of questions. But yeah, this is how to do that. Put a question here, put up a thing there.
You have to.
What do I do?
I think you move your, no, okay.
We're good, fantastic. So, but of course, questions from you are the most important questions, because anyone who is needing to suffer through this live surely deserves to have their question answered. So we will take priority for questions that come in during the recording. So yeah, all of you lovely people are our favorites. And we have lots of favorites. So let's start off. That's the slide for the end. And let's open up the Question Corner and let's start things off. So let's grab the first one there. Oh, it's a really easy one. Maybe, yeah, you know what, Nele, I've been talking for a while. Go ahead.
Okay, so the question is, what is the difference between a service task and a send task? And we are talking here about the task types in BPMN, and you can configure them. And actually, they have a different icon in the top. The one is having the cogwheel, and the other one is having the little envelope, the black one. But in the implementation, actually, both are implemented the same way. So both implement a service task. The difference is with a send task, you really can indicate that you are sending a message somewhere out. So you could probably build an email server by just having a service task. But if you want to be more precisely in your business logic, you would use a send task to make clear that something is sent out to a different party.
That makes sense to me. Cool. We'll call that an answered question. Marvelous. Let's take that. Jonathan, I haven't let you speak in a while. Is there a specific question that you would like to take?
Yes, just let's take the first one that's on top.
Sure.
And is there a demo/sample code on how to bundle a Cockpit plugin as in a Spring Boot project? And this is something that I can show you, but I don't know whether there is already a bundled way to do this. Is there a possibility to show my screen as well?
You know what? I'll let you do that. I'm a very kind person, so you can just click share screen. I should be able to do it, hopefully.
All right. So I'm going to open up the project that I have in mind. So here we see this is a plugin, and unfortunately, I didn't find the project where I actually implemented this, but this plugin adds another point and another menu entry in the top bar of the Camunda cockpit. And what we're going to need is a service. So we just create a file that is called like this, Cockpit plugin plus the whole packages. And there we input the full name of our plugin class. The plugin class then overrides or extends an abstract cockpit plugin, has an ID, and has a set of resource classes. We create an ID and we put it in a public static final string because we're going to need it at some other places as well. And there we add the root resource, which is basically just an abstract cockpit plugin root resource, and it is mapped with a path. So we need the REST service annotation, which says then plugin, and there is the ID as well. And with the constructor, we also give the ID to the superclass. So this is the backend side. Now to the frontend side. There we have a plugin. And this is the classic way of implementing plugins for the Camunda cockpit. So we have an export default starting with an array. And there we need, in this example, 2 plugin points. So cockpit route and cockpit navigation. In the first one, we define the route itself. So what happens if you use this path? On the other hand, we define the button that handles the clicking. And then we have the template for what we're going to show. And this is basically it. So by using the root resource and the plugin, you can define a cockpit plugin that is then bundled and used in Spring Boot using the service loader.
That's really cool. I mean, it's been a while since I saw it being used in Spring Boot. I think all the examples we've tend to be with Tomcat, because it's so much easier to just drop random stuff in a Tomcat folder. So it's really nice to see a Spring Boot version, which is really cool. Thanks for that. I will take that as answered. Marvelous. So let's take one of the ones that showed up here. Oh, this is a great one. I watched a Camunda Forms tutorial, which was about a year old. I'm trying to use expression as text fields, but the expressions wasn't running. That is very true. That wouldn't happen. So let me explain Camunda Forms very briefly. It's one of the newest features that we have. Probably, I think it maybe even a year ago. I don't even think we had it. I think Camunda Forms itself is maybe since the release about 6 months ago, maybe when it first showed up. But basically, yeah, it's relatively new, and therefore it's at a point where it can be used for kind of prototyping. But right now, you can't really use expressions yet on text fields. There's actually a whole bunch of stuff that we haven't really implemented with Camunda Forms with dynamic, with anything really very dynamic, like using variables. And it'll be a little while before we do that, but it's very much something that we're working to build on. In the meantime, there's lots of other ways you can use front ends. Camunda Forms are very particular, and I don't think they're quite ready yet for some real production ready stuff. So I would suggest that great for prototyping for now, but I would give it maybe 6 months or so before we actually really get enough features that it's usable for production. Yeah, so I'm sorry for causing any frustration that it might have been there in Camunda Forms. They can still be used, but they get kind of a bit hard to deal with after a short period of time. Super. So let's take okay with that. Neil, anything you want to? There's some new questions.
I can take the one that's up top here. Is Camunda going to move away from AngularJS now that it's not supported? It's a very short answer. No, we stay to AngularJS for our front-end applications for TaskList and Cockpit and Camunda Platform. They will be supported by different companies. So even the official support from AngularJS is running out. There will be another company taking over that support. There was some analysis done, and we just figured out it's at the moment not worth changing it. So we will stick with AngularJS.
Yeah. Indeed, there's actually a blog post written about the decision we made and the impact of, you can go to the blog and you can check that out. Maybe I'll try and find it in the break and post it there. But yeah, at the moment, we worked out the amount of time it would have taken to redesign all the web apps, and we don't have that kind of time. So we're going to use a supported version, another fork of AngularJS that's supported by a third party. So yeah, cool. Let's tick OK. Should we grab one of the newer questions?
It's up to Jonathan.
Oh yeah, Jonathan. Yeah, you're up.
Okay. Can you connect to a front end using GraphQL? Because today it's about front ends, and that's a front end question, definitely.
Let's do it.
So first, some context maybe. GraphQL is kind of a de facto standard when it comes to building gateways for the front end, because there you can select fields that should show, and you can minimize the total network traffic going to the front end. And natively, Camunda Platform doesn't support GraphQL. We have the REST API that is very well known and it's very rich in features. But there's a community extension that enables the usage of GraphQL, and from what I see, it can be used with Spring Boot, Wildfly, and Tomcat. So there are some instructions how to embed this and start using it. On the other hand, for Camunda Cloud, there is the GraphQL endpoint for the task list application. So there, it's the default way of implementing front end. So as Niall said, Form.js is not in a production ready state, but we are already using it in Camunda Cloud because it's very easy to get started with it. So you can just drag and drop the forms and build it like this. But if you need more, Task List offers a public API in GraphQL that you can use to build your own custom front end.
Exactly. Yeah, I really do quite like GraphQL. I kind of feel the community extension is fairly well maintained. Well, it's got a really, really good README anyway, and I really wish it was taken up more, because I think for front ends, GraphQL is super cool. It's really efficient. I really do like using it, and I do like the fact that in Camunda Cloud now we do have a GraphQL API, so and that's supported by us. So at least it'll be sort of more easier maintained anyway. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. I'm going to take OK. There is an epic question here down below that I just got answered, which I both love and hate this question. So let's read it out and let's explain why this question is impossible. So from our experience, what is the maximum number of transactions that Camunda can handle on a daily basis? That is a marvelous question for reasons that the number of transactions on a daily basis, I don't think I'm too familiar with, but usually we count transactions at a much slower cadence, usually within a couple of seconds, maybe, or maybe a minute. But let's explain probably where the question comes from, which is where is the limitation of the engine in terms of number of times you can, run a process through an instance. So Camunda itself isn't really the limiting factor. The number of transactions that we have are limited to, let's say, for instance, if you're deploy Camunda to like Wildfly or Tomcat or something, or even Spring Boot, there's a bunch of threads that are available on that container, and Camunda can use them and so on. And if you wanted to double that, you can actually just spin up another copy of Camunda and point at the same database, and then you have doubled your thread count. So that's not really a limiting factor. The key thing I mentioned there is connected to the same database, because there's your limiting factor. The number of connections you can have to a database is actually where you're going to have problems, not the number of transactions. The number of transactions can always be scaled quite well, actually. There's no huge limit to it, but every commit to the database is actually going to be important. So for instance, if you have something like lots and lots of breakpoints, the number of transactions is less relevant than the number of commits to the database. So if you have, for instance, a long running transaction that commits at the end, that's much better for the connection pool than loads of breakpoints and loads of little connections. So that's a way of scaling it. I cannot give a specific number on this because I think it's so dependent on so much, the database you're using, the clustering mechanism you're using. I can tell you it's hard to hit a brick wall on this. I think you would be looking at like 1,000 maybe per second, I think, is the limit that we tend to talk about. Yeah. So
maybe one comment about this. We once did a really high scale load test. We took the biggest distribution cloud provider offers for a Postgres database, and I think the amount we reached there was 5,000 transactions per second. But this is definitely not a database that you would use for production because it's much too expensive.
And I think the history configuration is also a factor. So there's a lot going on there. Yeah, Nele, any additional feedback on there?
I think you covered it.
No, I did talk a lot. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. But
cool. Thanks for that, Jonathan. That's a great input. I'm going to tick that. Okay. Nele, do you want to drop on something there?
Sure. Maybe I can do, how can I do RPA with Camunda? So there are multiple ways of doing it. We have for the enterprise version an RPA bridge where you can connect certain tools that are supported with that bridge. Actually, the bridge works similar to an external task worker where you have the possibilities to connect to the RPAs that the tools provide. I think so far we support UiPath and Blue Prism. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think we Automation Anywhere as well.
Automation Anywhere as well. So those three are supported. I think those three are the biggest ones. That doesn't mean if you use one of the other ones, you cannot connect to Camunda. You basically can connect if the RPA tool also provides an API, and then you can basically build an external task worker in the language of your choice. And then this connects to the API of the robot process automation tool you would like to use. Also, if you don't have the enterprise license, you could also try to configure that connection with UiPath or Blue Prism yourself. But I think it's a lot of work going on there because the API is maybe not too friendly for you, but there are some really great open source RPA tools available as well. I'm recently playing a little bit around with Robot Framework, and I found it quite useful when it comes for different task types. Actually, it's a test automation framework, but it also helps you with the Selenium library to automate user interfaces, but you could also perform simple tasks like, for example, sending a mail also sometimes works with Robot Framework. Anything you'd like to add, Jonathan or Niall?
No, that's it. I think you're doing some great stuff with RPA, and this is nice to see. And of course, for enterprise customers, we recommend the RPA bridges.
That is a good point. Yeah, we do have that. So that means that if anybody has any RPA problems, go to the forum and mention Nele. Just make sure that you just spam her with your RPA questions.
Sure.
Super. Thanks a million. Do we have anything else for? Do I have to use Camunda Forms?
I have to head off now.
Oh, true.
I'm sorry. This is a question corner. I have to leave early. There's a workshop going on, but I see you in 2 months or at the summit.
Bye-bye, Nele. You'll be missed. So, Jonathan, I'll throw it to you. Is there any question there that you'd be interested in taking over for us?
Yes, the one that you're actually pointing on last. Yes, this one. I answered already half of it. The first half was the one with Camunda Cloud. But now I also have an example for this one.
Oh, nice.
So I was playing around a bit with the GraphQL API, and I can also share this one with you.
Let's do it.
All right. So then, what I have is, first of all, I backend for my custom task list, which basically has a GraphQL controller, which is called GraphQL controller. It offers a GraphQL endpoint with a post, and this is basically what GraphQL does. It sends to the GraphQL endpoint with post, and there it contains the whole GraphQL request in the body. And what I do is I forward this request to the task list API of Camunda Cloud using the credentials that I created for this client. So you can also decouple the cloud task list from your own authorization and authentication mechanisms. And of course, this is quite useless to show off. That's why I also did a simple front end. And what you can see here is that I have a task list, like you know it from Camunda. So you have on the left the tasks, and there you have forms. And why this looks like it looks is because I built a Vue app, and inside the Vue app I use Apollo with the GraphQL client. It has all the features you can imagine. It's very rich. You can build your queries in line, which is very good to getting started to prototype queries. So later on, you can also decouple this, but for a first try, you can let it stick together. And it has some mechanisms for refetching and stuff. So every 60 seconds, I will re-execute the query to get the latest tasks. And then, of course, I can show the content of the tasks. And what this looks like in the end is this one. And you can see it also has this kind of generic form where every JSON value is shown as it is. And I also have some neat little linter. So you can enter some things and it will check that this is whether it changed, and of course whether it's a valid JSON or not. And this is because Camunda Cloud only knows JSON as variables. This is a nice to know thing, maybe for you. Is there anything to add, Niall?
This is really, really good. Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it is one of those differences with Camunda Platform and Camunda Cloud about the variables and how they're stored. So by default, I think there was a question earlier about dealing with complex objects, and it's kind of funny that that's improved dramatically with Camunda Cloud. So we'll maybe talk about that later. But yeah, this is great. Yeah, I'm actually interested in stealing this project and doing stuff with it. So thanks for showing it. Yeah, it looks really good. Super duper. So thanks for that. Let's head back to our questions. Thank you very much for answering that. Is that sorry, I should ask, is that available somewhere in GitHub at the moment, or are you just have that in your laptop?
This is first of all just an internal project, and it's like the other one. I can forward you the stuff, and you can then maybe post it to the community.
There is nothing I like more than taking credit for other people's work, especially consultants, Jonathan. Thank you so much. I will copy that. I'll claim that it was my idea from the beginning, and I don't even know you. So fun times ahead. Thanks a lot. There's someone it's a very, very quick one. Is there a way to access the recordings? Yes, our YouTube channel. If you go to Camunda's YouTube channel, every single question corner, all 20 of them are painstakingly edited by Niall and put up there about a day or so after. This will probably be on Monday. I think this one will go up. So you can access all the recordings there. And I also spend the time to add all the questions as little clickable links in the description. So people may not know that, but if there's a specific question you want, you can just look at the description. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question. Let's swing by. Oh my, we got an RPA question just as Nele leaves. That's unfortunate. I'll leave that one for now. Let's see. Maybe you know the kinds of additions to be added to Camunda Forms in the future. Oh my goodness, there's so many. If you've used Camunda Forms, you know there's a lot missing. So there's a huge amount that we want to add. The first thing is the roadmap is pretty big. And it's very hard to know what will happen first, which is why I don't want to give any sort of promises. But generally dynamic, using process data to dynamically affect the form is a priority. But as well as that, there's a whole bunch of other sort of form fields that we want to add. We want to be able to, in the future, be able to change the layout much better than you can do it right now. But I think the first thing is we're seeing that people really do like it and enjoy it. So we're definitely going to spend a lot of time. You can be sure that we will be spending a lot of effort in developing this further. So you'll see it coming along leaps and bounds, even though I can't really let you know at this point. There'll be more information probably next month when we actually have a release. So 7/17 is released next month. Thank you very much. I always get mixed up because there's like 4 or 5 different versions they were talking about internally. And so once that happens, we'll have a better idea of what the roadmap's going to look like and what's currently out. So prepare for that. One
addition, one tip for you. If you're really interested and want to be informed, you can look on the Form.js GitHub repository, and there are incidents or issues posted, and you can start inspecting them and see the progress on them.
Marvelous. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Thanks for that. We only have 2 minutes left before I pass along to Lucas. Let's talk about this question. Let's try to do the RPA one because this should be quite easy. So basically, whether something is RPA or not is not relevant to Camunda's engine. The idea of the orchestrator is that if something has an API that we can trigger and we can get a response back from it, you can orchestrate it with, you can integrate it with Camunda. I would start to look up the external task pattern if you want to get started with this, which are these clients that we have to be able to connect Camunda with external systems in whatever language you want. There's a JavaScript one, there's a Python, there's a Go, and there's Java. So if you're going to connect to another system, like I don't know Microsoft Power Automate very well, so I can't give specifics, but if they have some kind of API, we can connect to it, is the long and short of it. I'll try and ask Niall to give us more information there. All
right.
Let's see. What else we got? Anything there for you, Jonathan, as a last question, maybe, or if we can get more, we'll try our best. But
I think the one at the top is handled right now. Custom task list. I already showed a custom task list, and it's applicable in the same principle also for Camunda Platform. So no difference regarding the task list itself. It's just another backend you're connecting to.
Yeah, actually, and it's usually recommended that you do enrich process data with your actual entity data. There's no problem there with connecting both, like using process variables to do that. Okay, let's try and grab maybe one more. This one came in, it's got 2 votes, so let's do this one last, I guess. Sorry for the very bottom one there. The best way to handle complex data in process context. This is one we get almost every month, and because there's lots of answers to it, and it's hard. The best kind of question. Do you want to kick us off there, Jonathan?
Yes, I can try at least. So handling of complex data in a process context is usually some kind of either a serialized object like a JSON or XML, or if you're using an embedded version of the process engine, most likely a Java object. And the first recommendation is to use an explicit serialization in the process engine configuration. For example, application JSON in combination with the spin library that enables serialization in JSON. Because what happens on the other hand, if you don't do this, you will get a Java serialized object, which is just a bytecode, and this can't be brought back if you are changing the Java class that you want to map to. So first recommendation. Second recommendation, don't store too much in the process engine, because the process engine saves every complex object as blob to a special table as a byte array, and this table grows very fast. Efficient way to store complex data. If you have a lot of complex data, for example, business objects that live alongside your process, use a different schema for it, or at least different tables inside the same schema, and just do a reference towards an identifier and save this identifier in your process engine tables.
Yep, I completely agree with that. And thanks
okay.
That was really, really, precise. We will take that for now, and I'll stop sharing. Thanks for your questions, everybody. But now, of course, I would like to drag into this call our dear colleague Luca, who is going to give some updates around Champion program stuff. Luca, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Yeah, I'm really happy to talk about the Champion program today because obviously it's one of my favorite topics. And actually, I'm extremely happy to see that there are quite a few champions here today, Camunda Champions. So that's always nice to see. Let me share my screen. So actually, cool. Actually, this May, we will welcome a new cohort of champions, and I'm super excited about that. But maybe let's take a step back first. So maybe some of you don't know the Camunda Champion program. So let me tell you a little bit about the Camunda Champion program and what we are doing there. So actually, I think as all of you know, we at Camunda are extremely lucky because we have a lot of dedicated and invested community contributors who take a lot of time and effort that they put into the community. And especially there are a lot of people that also support other community members along the way. And at some point, we realized that we don't really have a formal way of reaching out to those contributors and that we don't really have a formal way of giving credit to those individuals. And that's actually why we came up with the idea of the Camunda Champion program. With the Camunda Champion program, we want to give our most active community contributors credit for the work they're doing, and we want to set them up for success. But yeah, I just said another round of champion is starting soon. And yeah, what's in for champions, you might ask? So for us, it's a lot about community. So we really want to create connections. We want to connect our champions with each other, but also make connections to people at Camunda. And of course, all our champions, they're doing a lot of amazing work, and this is something we want to make visible. So we want to amplify the work our champions are doing, and we really want to give credit to our amazing champions. And of course, we also want to educate our champions. We want to support them in their growth, and that's why we give our champions educational resources and first-hand insights into information, what's going on in the Camunda universe. And of course, there's special swag, because what would be a champion program without swag, right? So we actually launched the Camunda Champion program in April last year, and we welcomed the very first cohort of champions in June last year. And a lot has happened since then. We actually welcomed already 22 amazing Camunda champions into the program. And I actually counted today that they're all from 11 different countries. So it's a super international program. And you should definitely check out the Champion website. It's a subpage on our Camunda website, because you can see all our amazing champions there. And as I said, there are a few champions also here in the webinar. So you should definitely check them out. And actually in November last year, we organized our very first Camunda Champion Summit. So that was definitely one of the highlights so far, I would say. That was a 3-hour event, and all the champions got together. Also, some of the Camundas joined. So our VP of product, for example, joined. Bernd was there, our co-founder. Maybe you see him here. Niall was also there. What a surprise. So a lot of people from Camunda were also there, and we shared exclusive insights, but also the champions, they shared a lot about their projects, and was just a really, really nice event. And this is definitely something we will keep, and we will organize the next one still this year. So as I said at the beginning, we will welcome a new cohort of champions, and you can apply. So we have a application form on our website. The deadline to apply is actually May 1st. And if you love to support others within the community, and if you actively support the community, for example, you might organize meetups, or you write blog posts, or you contribute code. So for us, it's really, there's no one size fits all approach, because you might all like to do different things, but we really want to support, that you can do more of what you actually enjoy doing, and we won't force you to do things that you don't like to do. So definitely apply if you're interested in joining, or if you might know someone and you think, okay, this person is not on the Camunda Champion page yet, but this person definitely has to be in the program. You can also propose this person for the program, so you can just reach out to us, or you can just encourage this person to apply. So if you have any questions, we have the email address champions@camunda.com, or as I said, we also have a champion page on our website, and you can definitely check that out, and always reach out to us with any questions you might have.
Marvelous. I told Luca that she had exactly 7 minutes. I was
and we are always on time, right?
Hit that perfectly. It was pretty amazing. Alrighty. So let's see if I have time for a quick reminder of one of the most important things coming up. I assume everyone kind of knows this already, but for those who don't, the Camunda Community Summit is pretty close. It's late next month. It's got 3 days of fun, including a workshop on one day. It's got an unconference on the second day, and it's got the more classic sort of conference on the third day. The agenda for the third day conference is already up, so you can go check that out and sign up and stuff. One of the things that I'm really looking forward to is something we did last time at the Community Summit, which is the unconference, which is still open to people submitting stuff, specifically topics. The way unconferences are different from the regular sort of conferences is, instead of having a single person who is just talking at you about a topic, it is far more of a discussion. It's far more about trying to find potential answers and discussing problems, solutions, that sort of thing. It was really popular last time we did it. We basically run these little collaborative workshops where people from the community, they suggest topics to discuss. We then put them out in the community for people to vote on the topics they want to hear the most, and we just grab those and put them into an agenda. So if there's a topic you would like to lead and discuss with people, or if there's a topic that you'd like to hear, you can actually go right now and submit those to the unconference. You can go to a website that I hope someone has handy, because I oh wait, was already posted by Kaya? Of course it was. I don't even know. There it is. Yeah. Thank you very much. So you can go there and just maybe submit a talk that you might be interested in going. And more importantly, come along. If you don't even have a talk to submit, you're still going to have a lot of fun by showing up. One of the things that I like to push a lot is something that I really like a lot, because it actually reminds me of what everyone in the company is doing, which is the Camunda developer newsletter. So there's a lot of different stuff we have. We have blog posts, we have the forum, we have lots of different things. And basically every month, Luca usually gets a whole bunch of the stuff that she feels is really kind of important for developers in particular, and from all around the different places where we submit stuff for videos and tutorials and blogs, and put them all in one handy little newsletter aimed at developers in particular. So it's usually code orientated. So if you're interested, subscribe. Why not? It's fun and larks of all kinds. We also still are looking, we're sometime next quarter, myself and Thomas, a colleague of mine, are going to do a BPMN clinic. And if you have a really bad model, or you have a really complicated thing you want to see us try and fix, let us know. We're going to do a live fixing of BPMN stuff to try and make people learn to love models again. Models that maybe need a little bit more care and attention can come to us, and we'll sort them out. So you can send an email to contact us there. Oh, and we're hiring as well, apparently. Very important. We always hire people. I think, how are we doing on time? We got 5 minutes. We can still answer some more questions. So, because I talked fast enough to do that. So let's jump back in, because there are 2 questions left. So I'd quite like to answer them in the 5 minutes we have before we say goodbye. I hope everyone's okay with that. So let's jump back into our how to create an incident if a service task fails. This is actually something that people ask quite a lot, because in a lot of the demos you will see, and especially a lot of running software, you will often see that some service task has failed and an incident shows up. But you may also notice that if you're running it yourself, you might quite quickly build a process, deploy it, and then start it, and for some reason, the process just breaks. There's no incident created. What's going on there? The way incidents like as we define them in Camunda work, is if the engine, while it's running the process itself, it comes across an error, it will then say, oh, that error is pretty bad, but it created an incident. It'll roll back to before the error happened, the most recent save point, and then it'll create an incident object that'll have the error message and stuff like that in it. So the question here is, how do I create them? Well, the key is asynchronous before, that lovely tick box that does so much and is description wise not the best wording for any given tick box. But basically what that does is, if you start a process instance and you let's say, tick asynchronous after on the start event, and then it runs a service task, let's say. Well, once you click start, your thread will be committed immediately, and the engine will pick up the token and try and move it through the service task. If it then fails, an incident is created. Now, if you didn't have that async tick box there, what you will see is you start the process, it goes, does the task, it fails, but it gets rolled right back to before the process was even started, and the user who's tried to start the process will actually get an error back. So yeah, it depends on what you're trying to create. Jonathan, do you want to try and elaborate on that rambling?
Yes, I would like to visualize it a bit.
Oh, even better.
I haven't pulled up an engine in the 5 seconds, but I have figured out two ways of creating incidents when
take it away
when you run into an error. So first of all, you see the implementation like Niall described it. So you have a very simple process that doesn't even have a name, or the service task doesn't have a name, but what is very important, we have an implementation that is not external, but it's something that runs in the same thread. So it's executed by the process engine itself. And you can tick this asynchronous before that Niall talked about. And as he said, you will get a commit to the database just before execution of the service task. The thread running until there will come back. And here the job executor of the process engine will take over. And as soon as the job executor runs into an exception, this will pop up as an incident in the cockpit and can be handled from there. If you are, on the other hand, outside and using an external service task, like I do now, it's not recommended to take the asynchronous before, because this is actually committing before the external service task is actually created. So you're having a very short transaction from starting the starting the task until creating the external service task. And what you can then do is taking an endpoint that is exposed to the API that is called, I just had it, handle failure. So posting the external service task with the ID here will create an incident depending number of retries you allow this external service task to have. So you can have a decrement on the retries, and if you reach 0, an incident will be created. That's, I think, some details about creating incidents and everything that I can figure out now for the short term. So I will hand back.
Marvelous. Thank you very much. And it is just in time for me to show everyone's favorite slide. It's the thank you slide. Thank you all very, very much for showing up. Thank you very much for my esteemed guests for the very brief but marvelously effective appearance of Nele. Of course, to Luca, a return from her brief hiatus as from Question Corner. And of course, Jonathan Lukas, who has joined for the first time on a Question Corner, I'm sure won't be the last. Thank you for showing people that people can prepare for Question Corner, and I simply choose not to. So thank you very, very much for all the examples you showed. That was really, really useful. And lastly, of course, thank you to all of the audience who showed up. I hope we answered your questions. You can enjoy this video again soon. So yeah, thanks a lot. And we'll see you next time in 2 months, I guess. Bye-bye. Yeah. See you later.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.